Steelers Nation, welcome back to the channel. Our team is constantly looking to get sharper, stronger, and more complete each week because the goal is clear. Bring results and bring that black and gold identity back to the very top of the NFL. Before we dive into today's breaking story, I need a quick favor from you. Hit that like button right now. It only takes a second, but it helps this channel grow and keeps Steelers fans everywhere connected. All right, let's talk about it. The Steelers are 3-1 after their trip to Dublin, Ireland, where they came away with a hard-fought 24-21 victory over the Minnesota Vikings. But even in celebration, one of Pittsburgh's newest defensive leaders sent a message that was loud, clear, and maybe even a little uncomfortable. This team isn't finishing games the way they should. After the final whistle at Croke Park, safety Deshaun Elliott didn't mince words. He looked straight at the cameras and delivered a challenge, not just to his teammates, but to the entire Steelers organization. "Once we are up, we've got to know how to put our foot on people's necks," Elliott said. That's about as blunt as it gets. And you know what? He's right. Elliott's message comes from a place of leadership and frustration. He knows this defense is capable of suffocating opponents. He knows the offense, with Aaron Rodgers under center and DK Metcalf stretching the field, has the firepower to bury teams early. But instead of putting Minnesota away, the Steelers punted on 4th and 1, giving the Vikings one last shot. Yes, the defense held strong in the end. Yes, Pittsburgh walked away with the win. But even Rodgers himself admitted after the game that the offense had to finish that game out instead of leaving it up to the defense. And that's exactly what Elliott is talking about. Killer instinct. Now, let's be fair. Elliott wasn't all fire and frustration. He did share a lighter moment with the Dublin crowd, breaking out an impromptu Irish jig on the field. Fans in Ireland loved it, the Steelers sideline loved it, and the clip has already made its way around social media. But make no mistake, his serious comments carried the heavier weight. This wasn't just about celebrating a win overseas. This was about demanding that the Steelers transform from a good team that survives close games into a great team that slams the door shut. While Elliott fired up the post-game conversation, the star on the field was DK Metcalf. If anyone was wondering how the blockbuster trade for him would pay off, Sunday in Dublin was your answer. Metcalf absolutely torched the Vikings secondary. 5 catches, 126 yards, and one jaw-dropping 80-yard touchdown. That play wasn't just explosive, it was vintage Metcalf. A burst of speed, a shrug of contact, and nothing but green grass ahead. Croke Park erupted like it was Heinz Field. And just for good measure, Metcalf taunted the Minnesota defenders with the viral "hold this L" gesture. Steelers Nation, admit it, you loved it. That's swagger, that's identity. That's what Pittsburgh's been missing at wide receiver since Antonio Brown's peak days. The defense deserves its flowers too. Injuries piled up, mistakes were made, but when it came down to crunch time, they got the stop that sealed the win. Elliott himself was everywhere, bringing physicality in the secondary and setting the tone. TJ Watt once again played like a man possessed, creating havoc in the backfield and making life miserable for Carson Wentz. But the cracks are still there, and they're becoming harder to ignore. This is where things get concerning. The Steelers' secondary, already tested early in the season, suffered another blow in Dublin. Brandon Echols, who had stepped up in place of the injured Porter Jr., went down late in the 4th quarter. He eventually walked off under his own power, but on the very next play, Pittsburgh's defense gave up an 81-yard bomb to Jordan Addison on busted coverage. That play nearly cost them the game. Minnesota scored right before the 2-minute warning, closing the gap to 24-21. If not for the defense holding one last time, the story today might be very different. Here's the injury reality check. Joey Porter Jr. is still dealing with a hamstring injury. Jalen Ramsey and Darius Slade Jr. both left Sunday's game temporarily with injuries, although they returned. Now Echols is banged up too. That's your entire starting cornerback rotation either injured or playing hurt. It's not sustainable. The good news is the Steelers have a bye week coming up after their Week 5 matchup with the Cleveland Browns. The timing could not be better to try and get the secondary healthy again. It wasn't just Elliott voicing frustration. Aaron Rodgers also sounded the alarm after the game. Rodgers made it clear that punting on 4th and 1 in the fourth quarter wasn't good enough. He wanted the offense to step on Minnesota's throat and end the game themselves. Instead, they relied on the defense to bail them out. Rodgers has been around long enough to know what separates contenders from pretenders. And right now, he sees the Steelers walking a fine line. At 3 and 1, they're in a good spot. But unless they learn how to finish games with authority, they'll eventually pay the price. Deshaun Elliott isn't just some role player trying to make noise. He's been one of Pittsburgh's most reliable defensive pieces through 4 weeks, and he carries the respect of his teammates. When he says this team needs to put their foot on people's necks, it's not empty talk. It's a challenge. A challenge to Tomlin, to Rodgers, to Metcalf, to Watt, everyone. The Steelers have the talent to dominate. They have the leadership. They have the fan base that demands greatness. But the question is, do they have the killer instinct? That's what Elliott is asking, and honestly, it's what Steelers Nation has been asking for years. The next test comes fast. Week 5 brings a divisional clash with the Cleveland Browns. It's the type of game that defines seasons. Rivalry, physicality, bragging rights, all on the line. And here's the reality. If Pittsburgh wants to prove it's truly a contender, this is the kind of game where they need to answer Elliott's challenge. Get the lead, keep the lead, put your foot on their necks, and don't let go. No more leaving the door open. No more relying on late defensive stands. No more hoping for turnovers to save the day. This is the moment for the Steelers to show they can dominate from start to finish. Let's rewind a bit. Earlier this summer, Rodgers went on the Pat McAfee show and hinted that the 2025 season might be his last. He'll be 42 in December, and the general belief was that he'd give Pittsburgh one strong season, help groom the next guy, and ride off into retirement. But here's the twist. Through the first 4 weeks, Rodgers hasn't looked like a guy ready to hang it up. Far from it. Completions, 74 of 108. Yards, 786. Touchdowns, 8. Interceptions, 3. Those numbers may not scream MVP, but what they do scream is efficiency, leadership, and control. Traits this team hasn't consistently seen since Big Roethlisberger's prime years. Rodgers has brought calm to the huddle, swagger to the offense, and most importantly, wins. Steelers fans know this. Quarterback play has been shaky since Big Ben left, and Rodgers is the first to truly settle things down. What Rodgers' hint means,
so what if Rodgers actually means it? What if 2025 isn't the end? The Steelers' plan seemed pretty clear. Rodgers runs the offense in 2025 while the team makes a Super Bowl push. Draft a quarterback high in 2026 to be the future, transition smoothly, with Rodgers likely stepping aside. But what happens if Rodgers says, nope, I've still got juice left. I'm coming back in 2026. Honestly, that might be the best-case scenario. Here's why. It's becoming more and more common for teams to draft a rookie quarterback and let him sit and learn behind a veteran. Look at Patrick Mahomes learning behind Alex Smith, or Jordan Love sitting behind Rodgers himself. If Pittsburgh drafts a quarterback in April, imagine the benefit of him learning for a year under Rodgers' wing instead of being thrown to the wolves immediately. That's how you build sustainable success. Let's not forget what else we saw in Dublin. DK Metcalf is proving to be a huge addition, hauling in 5 catches for 126 yards and a touchdown, including that 80-yard bomb that lit up the Irish crowd. The chemistry between Rodgers and Metcalf is real, and it's only week 4. And while the run game is still a question mark, Rodgers' ability to spread the field and keep defenses honest has given Pittsburgh a chance in every game so far. The offensive line? Better, but still a work in progress. The receivers? Metcalf has been a star, and George Pickens is showing flashes. Tight end Pat Freiermuth? Underused, but could become a bigger factor down the stretch. Here's the thing, Steelers fans. Rodgers hasn't just stabilized the offense, he's raised the bar for the entire team. Think about it. The defense, led by T.J. Watt and the secondary that's been banged up but resilient, knows they don't need to carry the load every week. Rodgers is giving them breathing room. The younger guys, they're watching and learning from a 4-time MVP. The culture, completely energized. This is why his words matter. If Rodgers stays beyond 2025, it changes the entire timeline for this franchise. The Steelers now head into the bye at 3-1 before a huge divisional matchup with the Cleveland Browns in Week 5. But let's be real, Steelers Nation. We'll keep replaying that little clip from Dublin. Rodgers saying, "We wish we could come back next year." Was it just about returning to Ireland? Or was it about returning to the Steelers for another run? My gut tells me Rodgers knows exactly what he was doing. He's testing the waters, dropping a breadcrumb for fans, teammates, and maybe even the front office. If he keeps playing like this, how could the Steelers possibly say no to bringing him back? Steelers Nation, the message from Dublin is crystal clear. Yes, the Steelers are 3-1. Yes, they beat the Vikings in front of an electric crowd at Croke Park. Yes, DK Metcalf is proving to be the game-changing star we hoped for. But Deshaun Elliott and Aaron Rodgers are sending the same warning. Good isn't good enough. This team needs to become great. And greatness comes from finishing games, burying opponents, and never giving them hope of a comeback. Now, I want to hear from you. Do you agree with Elliott's blunt message that the Steelers need to put their foot on opponents' necks? Are you worried about the injuries in the secondary? Or do you believe Watt in this defense can keep carrying the load? And what do you expect in the upcoming Browns matchup? Will this be the game the Steelers finally show that killer instinct? Drop your takes in the comments below. I'll be reading them all. And don't forget, if you enjoyed this breakdown, hit that like button and make sure you're subscribed to the channel. We've got a long season ahead, and I'll be here with you every step of the way, breaking it all down for Steelers Nation. Here we go, Pittsburgh. The season just got a lot more interesting.